So continuing on with the balance point, one of the things that we're going to focus on, the first is the leg lift. So Mason, go ahead and lift your leg. A lot of young kids tend not to lift up very high when they're doing this balance position, even though they'll swing through this high point during the motion. So what we want to get them comfortable with is actually controlling the lift. So go ahead and lift up maybe, and let's just call it parallel to the ground. It can be higher, it can be lower, but what I see when kids are practicing it is they don't lift up high enough because their leg muscles maybe aren't strong enough, as well as all the small muscles in their leg to maintain balance. So one of the keys is to be able to lift up to balance, and let's just call it even parallel with the ground. And as you do this, a lot of kids will lean back. So there's a watch out for what a key is, a key being good posture. One of the watch outs is as you lift up to here, watch out for kids who lean back in order to counterbalance. So one of the drills that I recommend in doing some of these things is to do balance for a commercial break. Do it for one commercial break and then see later if you can work up to it, see if you can do more. So practicing these balance points are really going to be important for the actual physical development of some of the younger players to get those muscles strong, those little muscles. Another key is going to be the glove position. As you lift to balance, note that this glove, we'll talk about this through HandBreak, but as you lift to balance, these hands that are to stay in the midline of the body, pretend like there's an invisible string between this glove and this knee. Doesn't matter how long the string is, it just matters that the tension of that invisible string stays the same. So you want to keep it tight. You don't want slack in it. You don't want it to get broken. So as Mason lifts up from set to balance, we want to try to keep that invisible string similar. So, all right, next major set, I say major, one of the more common things that I see. It's not terribly impactful right now, but it's something that I think is very easily correctable and can help as we clean up the mechanics, is the lower leg position. So Mason, go ahead and lift up your lower leg, and what we'll see, I'm going to go ahead and hold you just so we can demonstrate. So one of the things that we see a lot of is this lower leg flexion. What we really want is we want a lower leg that is loose and relaxed and dangling, and what we see with a lot of kids is this tension created when this lower leg gets pulled in. And a lot of times as I ask kids to lift up their leg from say down below to up here, that leg immediately tenses so that they can maintain that lift. In doing so, sometimes they'll also tighten up this foot. So we want to release the tension in all of this. So what we want to do is we want to let that lower leg dangle. And for one of the drills that I like to do as a pitching coach for younger kids and even older kids who exhibit this is I'm going to go ahead and put my arm underneath the player and ask them to put their weight on here and then let this lower leg just kind of dangle and come to rest. And when it comes to rest, it should be, it'll be hanging straight down due to gravity, and then this lower foot will be nice and relaxed. And then what I'll tell the player is, okay, get ready. I'm going to go ahead and take my arm away. Now, don't forget your hand position wherever you want your hands. I'm going to take this arm away, and I want you to hold that position as I take it away. And then you see naturally he already started to counterbalance a little with his posture, and you can start to see some of the interrelations between one position and one change and how it affects another. So those are some of the keys and some of the watch outs for the balance position, and we're going to go from here into HandBreak. So let's go ahead and switch over and go ahead and get set up, Mason, here, and show that balance one more time. And leading into the HandBreak section, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what happens as the leg is lifted into balance. Remember that string, one of the things we'll talk about with HandBreak is make sure that invisible string that's connected from your glove to your knee keeps the same amount of tension. So lift up. As you lift up, your glove and knee go in synchronizations, go in sync, go together. So go ahead and lift up. And then if you want to think, when you push back down, you almost want to think that the HandBreak is another step in the balance process. It's a lift up and it's a push down. And then you're going to be, let's go ahead and just say about 6 feet off the ground, or excuse me, 6 inches. Go ahead and tap your foot on the top of my glove as you come down, nice and relaxed. And that might be just a little bit high. But the point being that as you come down, you're in balance, and then you come in HandBreak, your hands should be breaking somewhere around your belt line, roughly. It doesn't have to, but somewhere here is generally where most people are going to break. And then maintaining the balance, as a lot of people will skip this step, and they'll, especially younger kids, is they'll go ahead and just break and reach and start stepping out without going through this balanced handbrake position. So if Mason you can go ahead and show us this handbrake. Let's talk about the keys again. Keys are keeping the glove somewhere in the midline of the body, keeping the knee and the glove connected as you go up and down. And then one of the last ones is what happens with your hand and your wrist position as the ball comes out of the glove. That's what we're talking about, the handbrake, the breaking of the glove from the hand. So as Mason was showing, the position of the ball upon handbrake can directly link and cause challenges later on in the mechanics if you don't keep an eye on it. So go ahead and show me the handbrake and balance that position. So good, brake. Now watch this ball position. So eventually we're going to try to bring the ball up, right? But we see some kids who cup the ball and pull this way, and this can create tension in the mechanics. So what we want to do is, if you just kind of think about thumbs, thumbs together or palms down, there's a few different schools of thought, and you can get through and get by. I just would say, watch out if you're having problems with the arm stroke. You might want to even take a look all the way back at the hand position at handbrake. So there's kind of a fine-tuning of sorts when it comes to the arm stroke and the arm path, and a way to affect it early in the mechanic. But let's go through. So the keys, we talked about hands, the string, the connection, and then we talked about wrist position. So some of the watchouts are, if someone's going through, one of them is, and we didn't talk about this in balance, but at handbrake is if you're offset. We want to be equal and opposite across this midline. One of them is not connecting this glove in the knee. What you'll see with a lot of kids and a lot of players is they'll have hands still and leg moving, or they'll even be going in opposite directions sometimes. You want to keep the knee and the glove connected for as long as possible. One of the others is, we as coaches, young coaches of really young kids, when they first started picking up a baseball for t-ball, we told the kids step, point, and throw. We told them to step and point, because at first we were really struggling with getting them to do anything with their lead arm. And so a lot of times as coaches we said step and point, right? And so we trained kids at a real young age to break their hands up above without going through this handbrake section. And that's part of the progression of just getting them the fundamentals. But at a young age, where Mason and some of his peers are right now, they've still got those habits of starting and lifting and then going directly to a step and a break. And what we want to do is that's the watch out. We want to avoid that. We want to get them going rhythmically through this handbrake position. I think that's most of it for the handbrake. Again, just watch out for the kids that really just skip this step altogether. And then one of the drills that I really like is a super simple drill. Just like asking a kid to balance in front of the TV, I would say working on the balance to separation and going balanced, separation, balance, separation. So Mason, why don't you do a practice? Why don't you show me right now, balance and separation. See if you can do this and get some practice in. Just doing this in front of a mirror can actually help you understand your mechanics and getting a rhythmic flow to this.